Welcome to today's deep dive. We're going to explore these really heartwarming stories about the best of humanity.
They really highlight the power of small acts of kindness.
And compassion, too.
Oh, right, absolutely, yeah.
So we're looking at a plan for a show called Heartbeat, Human Connections. And I noticed right away these stories are from all over the world.
It's a great reminder that doing good for others crosses all borders.
Totally. So you've got big cities, small towns. We've got Iowa, Tokyo, even a story starting in New York that goes global.
It shows that kindness is something we all understand.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got some incredible examples.
Yeah.
Instead of going through them like a countdown, what struck me was how many notice on community.
Oh, I like that.
So how about we explore those together?
Sounds good. Let's see how they connect different people and places.
Perfect. So one story that comes to mind is in a small Iowa library. Imagine a young boy named Sam who leaves these encouraging notes in the library books.
He's like a secret friend, leaving little bits of encouragement.
And get this, it went from a personal thing to a whole town thing. People started posting the notes online. It was like a treasure hunt that got people connected.
It shows how much we need to connect with each other. Even online, those small gestures bring people together in the real world.
Totally. And that community spirit is even stronger in our next story, this time from Nairobi. There's an elderly widow. Her garden was damaged in a storm, and it meant a lot to her because it reminded her of her husband.
It's sad to think about the loss she felt, not just for the garden, but for what it represented to her.
Right. But then the whole community came together to fix her garden. It became a tribute to her husband and showed how powerful compassion can be.
It wasn't just fixing the garden, it was about helping her through a tough time and showing her she wasn't alone.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And that same willingness to help is in our next story, this time from London. Picture this. A talented street musician playing music in a busy subway.
You said busy, and it's interesting how you can still find those moments of connection, even in a crowded city.
Exactly. So the commuters were touched by his music and decided to do something for him. They got together and left him tips and a note saying how much they appreciated his music.
It shows that even a small gesture of appreciation can make a big difference. It creates a kind of back and forth of kindness where everyone feels good.
Okay, so we've seen kindness in a library, a neighborhood, and a subway. Now let's look at how kindness can spread even further.
That reminds me of this story from Tokyo. There's a cafeteria worker who goes the extra mile and writes positive messages on the kids' lunchboxes.
That was my favorite. Can you imagine the smiles when they open their lunch and see those notes? Talk about starting the day off right.
You said it was a simple gesture, but is it really that simple? That worker is adding an extra thing to their day every day. That shows a lot of care for those kids.
That's such a good point. It's easy to miss the thought behind kind acts, but they come from a place of wanting to help others.
Right. And something small like that can change the whole feel of the school. It helps the kids feel seen and appreciated, and that makes everyone feel better.
And speaking of spreading kindness, that leads us to Melbourne, Australia. There's a person there, like a book fairy, who leaves new books at a local shelter.
It's a powerful image, all those books just waiting to be read. It's a sign of hope, showing someone cares.
It makes you think about how comforting those books must be to the people there, especially if they're going through a tough time. It's a chance to escape into different worlds and stories.
And there's research that shows reading fiction can actually make you more understanding of others. So that book fairy might be making the community a kinder place without even realizing it.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. It just shows how kindness can have unexpected positive effects that reach further than you think.
Like throwing a pebble in a pond, you never know how far the ripples will go.
We've seen some great examples of kindness in communities. And this is just the beginning. We still have 5 more amazing stories to go.
Stay tuned because next we'll dive into some inspiring initiatives that show how compassion can create real change in the world. Welcome back. Ready for more stories about how kindness makes a difference?
Absolutely. These next stories show how compassion leads to real change.
It all starts small, like one act of kindness that turns into a whole movement.
Exactly. Like this cafe in Seattle. They donated a whole day's coffee sales to a homeless shelter.
It wasn't just giving money, it was about using their business to do good. And that message really resonated.
Because other businesses joined in, right? So
Yeah.
they ended up creating a whole network of support.
It's like what they call the helper's high. Research shows that helping others actually makes us feel good.
It's win-win. The shelter gets support, and the cafe and customers feel good.
That's what's so great about kindness. It helps the receiver and the giver.
Okay, so we've got businesses. But this next story shows young people making a difference. We're going to a snowy town in Canada. A group of teenagers decided to help out during a snowstorm.
You've talked about strong communities, and this is a perfect example. Instead of staying inside, these teenagers shoveled snow for their elderly neighbors.
I love that. That's real community spirit. It wasn't just shoveling snow, it was making sure their neighbors felt safe and cared for.
It shows that kindness isn't always big gestures. Sometimes it's just making things a little easier for someone.
Exactly. It's about seeing a need and doing something, no matter how small. Now let's go to Florida, where technology connects people. A nursing home there started a virtual hugs campaign, connecting residents with their families through messages and videos.
With everyone online these days, this story shows how technology can fight loneliness and help people connect, especially those who can't leave their homes.
It's really heartwarming how this initiative went beyond just one nursing home.
Exactly. It ended up connecting seniors with loved ones all over the world, showing how a simple idea can have a global impact.
And it reminds us of how important it is to stay connected no matter the distance.
Exactly. Now, this next story takes us to Brazil, where an artist got the whole community involved.
That's amazing. Was it like a community art project?
Yeah, they created a giant mural together. It was a way for people from different backgrounds to connect and create something beautiful together.
It makes you think about all the conversations and friendships that must have started while they were painting.
It wasn't just about the mural itself, it was about sharing that experience and creating something as a community.
That's so true. Now, for our last story, we're back in New York City, where one kind act went viral. This is the one about the note on the car, right? It seems so small, but it had a huge impact. Tell me more.
It was a message of encouragement that really touched the person who received it. And the story spread so quickly online, it inspired others to start leaving kind notes for strangers too.
That's so cool. It shows how social media can be used to spread kindness and encourage people to do good things.
They even started using hashtags like hashtag kindness chain and hashtag compassion notes to track the movement.
It creates a feeling of everyone doing something good together.
Exactly. There's research on how kindness can spread. Seeing or experiencing kindness actually makes us more likely to be kind ourselves.
So if we leave a kind note, we might inspire someone else to do the same.
And that can spread further than you think. Like the hashtag kindness chain, kindness can cross borders and create a global community.
Speaking of inspiring action, do you remember Maria? She saw those heartbeat human connection stories and started her own little library in her neighborhood.
I love that story. It shows how a show like Heartbeat can motivate people to make a difference. Her library is helping people connect with each other and with books.
It reminds us that we can all do something to make the world a better place, even if it seems small.
Exactly. Small acts of kindness, like Maria's, can really make a difference in people's lives.
That global note movement sounds amazing, but wasn't it just a fleeting trend?
That's a good question. The research is mixed. Sometimes these viral movements lead to lasting change, but sometimes the impact fades quickly.
It's a reminder that real change takes time and effort.
And it often starts with those small, everyday acts of kindness.
From a small library to a global movement, it all comes back to kindness making a difference.
Like we said, kindness is universal.
Yeah. As we wrap up, I'm curious, what makes these acts so impactful? What do they have in common?
Great question. I think it's that they're genuine. They come from a real place of caring, not just wanting attention.
It's about seeing everyone as important no matter what their situation is.
Exactly. And there's also the element of surprise. A lot of these stories are about unexpected kindness, and that really touches people.
It reminds us that small things can have a big impact.
Right. And kindness isn't just big gestures, it's those small, everyday things, too.
Like that cafeteria worker taking the time to write those notes. It seems small, but meant a lot to those kids.
Totally. It's about being aware, seeing what others need, and doing something, even if it's simple. It's about spreading positivity.
So to our listener, thank you for joining us on this journey. It's been inspiring to see the power of kindness.
It reminds us that we can all make a difference, bring some light and hope into the world.
And as we finish up, we have a question for you, inspired by Heartbeat, Human Connections.
If you were to leave a note for a stranger, what would it say?
Think about that. Maybe it'll inspire you to spread some kindness, too. Remember, every act of kindness matters, no matter how small.
So go out and be kind today.
And if you have a story of your own, we'd love to hear it. Share it in the comments or tag us on social media at AI for the People. Until next time, keep your hearts open and let your kindness shine.
And join us tomorrow for more stories from Heartbeat, Human Connections.
This has been The Deep Dive, and we'll see you on our next adventure into the world of knowledge.